people buy properties to live in, so as their main home, others for investing, whether it's running a business or just one property to lease out, for example, Airbnb, as you've mentioned before. But in terms of property ownership in general, what are the common misconceptions people have brought to you about owning property, especially here in the UK?
You don't really own your home. It's a waste of money. The interest rates are not worth it. How would I ever raise the deposit? The lending from the bank isn't worth it. It's the bank's property. I could go on. And like I said, that's where the education and the information comes in, right? Yes, you do get lending, but there's good debt and bad debt. This is a good debt. You're able to leverage your home. An example of being able to leverage your home. You buy a house, just an example, for £100,000 in 2014. Today's value, it's £400,000. And you've been, in 10 years later, you've also been paying back the bank what you borrowed. Now, let's say that you've paid down half of that, 50,000, and the property has gone up by 300,000. You have 250,000 pounds in cash, your cash. And that's what a lot of people don't understand in terms of the ownership part of it. They don't understand that. They don't understand the leveraging. They don't understand the numbers that concern it. They also don't really understand that once it's completely paid off, that is land that you can pass down, whether it's through a trust, a will, however you want to do it. That is land that you can pass down to your children, your great-grandchildren, any family member that you want. And that actually allows financial freedom. And that's something that I think we should strive for, financial freedom, right? Most of us go to work to pay off our mortgage. I mean, if I didn't have a mortgage to pay off, I probably wouldn't be working.
I'm the same.
We all go to work to pay off our mortgage. So imagine if you were able to pass down an asset to your child who will never need to pay a mortgage. That will then allow them to do what their heart actually desires. And that is my why. I've got 2 daughters, and God bless my parents. They were brilliant. My dad was fantastic. I lost my dad last year, and he was a property owner, and that was something that he really wanted me to do as well. He was born in Africa, so a lot of the pressure on my siblings and I was to get a good education, get a good job, earn good money, do this, do that. These are your only options. Between my siblings and I, we had 4 options: medicine, a lawyer, engineering, accounting. Those were our only options. And that was done out of fear. That was done out of fear because there was an uncertainty of what he was going to be able to do for us and leave behind for us, right? So I feel like if I'm in a position where I can give my children an asset that they can live in and potentially not have to pay a mortgage in, if my children turn around to me and they say to me, Mum, I want to do this, I'm not going to scaremonger them into doing a high salary job. I want them to do what they're passionate about, what they love, what is going to make them happy every single day. And that may not be a high paying job, but if they haven't got £1,000, £2,000 mortgage to pay for every month, then that will allow them to do that and actually be happy inside, what fulfills them. I feel like, going back to mental health, a lot of our struggles as human beings come down to us not really wanting to do what we want to do. It comes down to us waking up every single day and doing what we have to do to survive, being in that survival mode. And that's not what I want for my children. So based on what I understand about the property market, which I think a lot of people don't, it's going to allow my children to have some sort of financial freedom, which I think a lot of people have a huge misconception about. They believe that they're just getting themselves into hundreds of thousands of pounds of debt that they're going to have to repay every single month, and they're not really getting anything from it, because if they were renting, they'll be getting the same thing anyway. But actually, if you look at the last couple of years, people are actually queuing outside properties. They would see a property on offer for rent at £800. By the time they got there, they were then told, okay, this is actually going for 1,800 now, because people were desperate. People needed a roof over their head. People need to rent, and landlords were just abusing that. So I always say ownership, the lack of ownership allows people to control what they will or will not give to you. So position yourself to have that ownership so you can be in control of what you're going to give to yourself. And not saying that it's easy. It's not an easy ride, right? A lot of homeowners have gone through the struggle, which I mentioned about interest rates, you know, especially if you only fixed for 2 years. So within that 4-year period where we saw interest rates go up 12, 13 times, some people really, as I mentioned, their mortgages had doubled. But it just goes, what's important and how people were able to survive that is information. So similar to having misconceptions, once you've got the right information, you're able to combat anything. So a lot of misconceptions, that part of my job is to suppress them and to get the truth out there.
You know, I work in my 9 to 5 in the investment world, and there are so many misconceptions about investments as well. But I think just like property, when you invest, the element of time is so important, right? Because over time, like the example you've given about, you know, having that equity in the property that you bought in 2014, it's similar to an investment. It does take time for you to kind of get to the point where you can take your profits, etc. But again, with the right information and the right guidance, right, you can get to that point where suddenly you're now moving at supersonic speed in terms of your wealth creation, because you've now got to that point where you've got that 250,000 that you can essentially take out of the property. Well, it's yours, and reinvest it in wherever